Hello and welcome back to we pretty much finished. So basically now what we're gonna aim to do is to prepare our render scene. Now this is gonna be pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna go crazy. I just want a very simple scene. By the way, we have the still have these decals which you can get rid of, and we can start by making a plane. We can scale it on the X by about 100. I think my numpad is disabled. Yep. By 100, and that is actually a lot. It's really big. Can then move it like that. I mean, that's maybe a bit too big. I'll redo it. Maybe a 50 is enough. So SX50. Yeah, that's more like it. SY, I would say 20. Yeah, that's about right. And then we grab this edge, EX, EX, nope, EX, sorry, EZ. So we grab it and move it up. Allergy is killing me today. Maybe a bit more. Actually, let's make it nice and tall. And well, theoretically, we could have. Yeah, actually, you know what? We can delete this face and we can grab all of these edges and extrude them up. So we make a nice thingy. A thingy. Make a nice backdrop for our prop. And then we can bevel it all up like such. Give it a nice generous bevel and then sharpen that boy up. And yeah, that's literally it. Now, normally Unreal doesn't deal all too well with basically super thin stuff like this. To be fair, I've seen that they have improved this over the past few iterations of the engine, where I didn't have problems, but you might run into some shading issues, especially if you use older versions of the engine. So we're gonna add a solidify modifier and just blow it up like that. Now I see that the normals are messed up, but again, that's just because of that. So the clip start was a bit too close. So I'm just gonna apply it. That's it. And you know, we can do the usual thing. We can call this backdrop and the export type recursive, and you know, that's it. Then we can just go back to Unreal. We can kill the directional light. We're not gonna need that anymore. I'm gonna actually kill this one too. Actually, no, the floor will keep it for a sec. One important thing I have forgotten to do is, no, that's actually great. No, the origin point is perfect because we modeled like radiating around it, so that's fine. 3 changes to source. I don't know. Not sure why 3 changes, but I'm afraid I'm gonna find out anyway. Static meshes. No, never mind. That's fine. So I didn't even unwrap it because I am literally just gonna put a straight up single material on it. I'm not gonna do any crazy shenanigans. Okay. Yeah, I can move it in a little bit further. Or maybe that's a bit too much. Like this. And regarding the material, we can literally just make a simple material. So mm_ backdrop. And hell, I mean, I'm just gonna make a 4 vector. And I'll make it, yeah, like, you know, almost white, like really light gray. Metallic, let's just convert this to a parameter, you know, color, whatever, you know the drill. Convert it to a parameter, metallic. Then we make one for the roughness, convert it to a parameter, roughness. We might want to make one for the emissive, because we actually might try something funny with the emission. We'll see. Even though you do know that it's not a good idea to use stuff as main emitters. And yeah, that's it. We could have fun and make something with displacement, but you know, we're making a backdrop to render our stuff, so it's not really needed. Make an instance. I hate that it underscore inst. I prefer when it's mi. Not sure how the industry is doing it these days, but at least that's how I was taught. And we can just apply it. Now that does not look too bad. There are a few things to fix. For instance, we open the instance. Yeah, funny. You can do that emissive actually, which looks. I mean, you can do rough and emissive, and it looks like there is nothing here. More or less. It's pretty cool, but it's not what we want. So bring back the ME to 0. We can make the metallic 1 and the color dark. No, not black, but like a dark gray. I mean, in the end, I want a bit of a dark mood to this, like, you know, a darker kind of atmosphere. I don't want it like really light and bright. Something like that is pretty nice. Roughness, we can actually use a point. Oh Jesus, metallic is still 1. Yeah, I'm not so sure about it. I mean, I obviously don't really want it reflective like that. I think, at least. I would keep it to the 0.7 actually, like very, very rough. It's like a studio backdrop, you know? And yeah, like a point. Oh, look, you see, it reflects also the it reflects the actual lights, which is not good. If we make it like very rough, it's not gonna happen, because you see, like, once we go above like 0.3, they start to disappear, you see. But anyway, we want 0.7, so it's pretty high. Maybe 0.6. I'll still not make it metallic, to be honest, and just leave it like this for now. Not white, definitely not white. Definitely dark. Cool. Now we can close this and yeah. Is it flat? Yeah. Okay, we can begin now focusing on the camera setup. So we can go in here and we can look for camera. And we want the Cine camera actor. Just drop one in. And we go into it. First things first, we want to go into the focus settings, tracking. We can actually track. We can track our blueprint. So no matter where we, you know, like how far or close we are, depending on the depth of field, we'll always be tracking our beautiful asset. Then we can always draw a debug focus plane, and you will see that it's always going to be on it. See, like, we move further out, but the focus plane is always there, and that is actually what we need. See, it's always staying with our beautiful blueprint. Perfect. Actually what we wanted. So, stop drawing focus plane. This we don't care. Crop settings, no crop. Focal length, now it's 35. I want to actually make it about 100 so that it gets a little bit more of that orthographic look. See? Like, this is a bit of camera 101. Like, I am also a photographer, so I really enjoy taking pictures. Yeah, well, this is one of the basics. You know, the more you use a big lens, like a bigger zoom, so like a 200, a 600, the more things tend to look more orthographic and flat, kind of like, and you lose the perspective. I want to go actually for maybe an 80. Whoa, zoomed in a lot. Okay, like an 80 is nice. Okay, cool. So I would like to have actually one in the front, directly in front. It's a bit like, I'm gonna do a similar render to what the actual asset looked like. So one here, and then the other two slightly behind, with one that is a bit turned this way. And the other one that is turned the other way. Obviously, we're gonna have to change our lighting slightly, because obviously we don't really have the we can't exactly see everything. Actually, no, I should not have moved this. Right. Yeah, but so they really should be like, how are they turned actually, you know? Ah, yeah, they're both turned this way. It's pretty much like what I did. Yeah, kind of. Okay, so I'm gonna make them a little bit more like that, actually. Oh, not. Let's not make it levitate. Let's just exit the camera. It's gonna be a bit easier to set up. And yeah, something down that line. And then we go back to the camera. Now, once we find our favorite, by the way, if you move and scroll down, it will actually reduce the speed at which the camera moves. So once we find our sweet spot for the camera, which is, in my opinion, this one. Yep, that is very good. Once we find the sweet spot, we can hit the camera and transform lock actor movement. So now we cannot actually move the camera. Now I'm trying to move it, but I can't. Perfect. I don't want that. Well, I'm not doing you know, like some cinematic stuff. So
greetings. This is once again Nick from the future for maybe the last time, and I bring you some wisdom once again. So we were talking about, you know, locking the camera and stuff like that. As you can see, like, the scene is a little bit more advanced because I'm done doing everything. But yes, I will show you what I mean. So I'm gonna grab a new cine camera actor and place it here. By the way, you will see that the color is different from yours, but we'll fix it soon enough. And I can enter it, you know, by accessing the perspective and cine camera actor 6. So now you can see up here there is pilot actor cine camera actor 6. This means that if I move, I'm not moving really my view, I'm moving the camera. Okay, so while before I was in camera view, while before I was in perspective view, now I am actually moving the camera. Okay, so when you like hold your right click and you WASD, or like, you know, do whatever, E and Q. E is to go up, Q is to go down, and you just look around, you're actively moving the camera. So you need to be really careful with this, because if you set up your camera, you have like a nice sweet spot for your camera, and then you know, like you forget to get out by exiting from here, well, you're gonna actually start moving the camera. So that's the camera I was just piloting right now. If you forget to do this, you'll keep on moving the camera and then it's a disaster. This is why I locked it, you know, like this, with the locking the transform. See, now I cannot move the camera anymore. Like I'm trying to WASD now by holding right click and nothing happens. And that's perfect. You can also see this, that if I click it, somehow it's not giving me the gizmo. Ah yeah, because it's locked obviously, so it doesn't even give me the gizmo. See, this one it does give me the gizmo, but for this one it doesn't even give it to me because it's locked. And obviously if I unlock it, now it will give me the gizmo and I can move it, see? By the way, it's pretty cool because if you have it selected, that camera, you get a little preview down there. So there is a little preview of your camera and you know, you can just move it around and see, you know, test how it looks. This is can be useful, you know, like for manual fixing the camera, or you can literally just go in and move it yourself and, you know, see in first person like your shot and where your camera should be. And that's pretty much all you need to know, like about camera movement, really, for stills at least.
Stuff. So for me, that's perfect. To be fair, this is very front-like. It would be a little bit better if it was slightly from underneath. And the reason, I just realized, it's because we have these lights and we cannot really tell what they are. So we can actually do this a bit more precisely than I've been doing it until now. So the way we can do it is by, so location is 285. I'm gonna lower it a little bit, but the rotation, I think it's on the, oh Jesus, yeah, well it was, but it was minus 0.6. I can make it on 0. Still not low enough, so I'm gonna go quite lower, 0.2. Okay, 1. Maybe a little more. Let's see. So 3. It's a little bit better, but yeah, any more I go into the floor. Oh shit. That's the wrong thing. Yeah, any more than that, and I go into the floor, so that will have to do. Yeah, maybe instead of 3, not 33. 3.3. Yeah, that's good. Okay, nice. Now we have a nice bottom to top view, which is pretty nice. Very nice, very nice. We can close these in a little bit. And the location. Oh, that's the backdrop, sir. And the location, this is fine. We can move it slightly more inwards and rotate this to maybe 3.6. Yep, maybe 3.7. Yeah, that's perfect. Nice, okay, good, I like it. So we're gonna lock this into place. Cool. And let's see. We gotta light things up a little bit differently, because some things are missing a bit of exposure. Like, you know, this part is quite dark, although this part is very nicely lit. That part we don't care, it's in the back. I mean, all in all, it's not so bad, but it's just a 2-point light mostly, and one is here. So we could theoretically bring it a bit more like this and make it like a 650. It's a bit stronger. Let's take a look. Everything now is very, I have to say, boringly lit, but if we turn it off, see, we get this. It's not the best. So actually I didn't hate it before, like that. strong enough that you can kind of see. It's not so bad. I thought it was worse. But this one is 800. So how about 200? Now that's too dark. So first of all, I'm gonna make it blow up actually a bit more. So like 1000. Yep. And maybe I'm gonna actually move it. Let me take a look at where it is. Okay, so this one is going straight like that. It's almost behaving like a flashlight. It's coming almost from the same direction as the camera, and I don't like that. I'd much prefer to have it like that. Yeah, but this one then is not getting lit. Can fix that. So let's see. Oh, it's getting lit. Ah, that's not bad. Actually not bad. Yep, that's nice. See, we're getting some cool shadows here, you know, like it's actually hitting this edge. Like a lot of props showcasing its lighting. It's crazy how much lighting can actually bring into a scene when it's done well. I mean, I'm not really a lighting artist. Like some guys can do like stuff that for me it's like absolutely insane. But hey, I try my best, and I'm okay at it. I know a trick or two which are good. So we might have to actually change it a little bit, because this one is getting very well lit, this one not so much, but that is because we are lighting up everything with one gigantic light, which is not the way I would really approach this normally. So let's reduce the width and height, and let us move it a little bit closer to that prop. So I'm more interested that it lights up this from that perspective, like that, right? Maybe a bit further out. Yep, that's fine. Then we can duplicate it, move this one a little bit, rotate it slightly. Just want to take a look at how the light reacts with the prop. That's not terrible. So this one in the back, we can actually give it a different hue. So a bit more of a, actually a bit more of a greenish hue, maybe like that. Something a bit warmer, right? And greener. So that one 500 is a bit too much. We'll put it at 250. Let's take a look at the cam. Which one's this one? This one is the side one. That was the green one. Let's give it a name. And light. So 200. I think it's still a bit too strong. Still too strong. Something like that might actually work. Yeah. And for the third one, which is this one, this is the big one. And not the big one, but it's the strongest one, definitely. To be fair, this is not too bad. See how it's nice, and actually I really like it. You can see the actually don't mind it so much. It really brings the plants into focus, doesn't it? I mean, to be honest, that's kind of a hard thing to miss. Like even like this, you're just looking at the plants like, wow, cool. But this, oh, this is mysterious. But we see much less of the details which we want to showcase, so maybe let's actually bring it down to maybe, that's definitely too dark. We want it to like 300, 400, 500. Yeah, something down that line. Yep. Now, for visual purposes, we're gonna maybe try one thing which I really like to do sometimes. I drop into a point light and just bring it up. I'll make sure it's behind, that it cannot be seen, like here, right? And then I'm gonna blow up the intensity to a lot, pretty much like that. Make it a completely different color, like this, or even a red. Who knows? No, I would make it like a nice blue, like this. Love this kind of blue. Attenuation radius, we can always increase it. We don't really need to. We'll see. The source radius, we make it bigger. Obviously, hitting G here would be nice because then we can see what's going on. So, source radius, obviously the more you make it big, the softer the shadows. You can see the shadows, like, now they're really sharp, now they're not sharp, not sharp, not. So, soft source radius, yeah, you can just leave it to kind of low. Source length, oh, can actually become a capsule now. Great. Just gonna leave it as that. And that is absolutely devastating. So we are gonna reduce it. Still really strong, to be honest. Let's see. It's not too bad, but it's too weak. Not sure. Well, it has to be seen both ways. Let's get rid of that. Let's hide everything and let's check it out. I like it both ways, but I do prefer it with the point light. Maybe it's just personal preference. Some lighting artist would probably be yelling at me, but I don't know. I mean, hell, I'm pretty sure a bunch of people yelled at me for most things I did in this course series, because, you know, like the whole unwrapping thing and stuff. Like, I didn't give a shit about unwrapping stuff like properly because, well, we work with this kind of beautiful things here. And I've just noticed, I think I didn't apply a trim sheet here. I did not. So this is without a trim. I just noticed. Yep, that's missing a trim. I mean, it's no big deal. Remember, we can always go here and do it in literally like 5 seconds. So, where was it that we didn't apply? Oh, here. Easy. Just select everything, the panel. Maybe let's go to material view so we can see it. And pretty sure that's the correct one. No, it is not. What is it? PI trim 1? I think that's correct. Stretch. Yeah, let's maybe make that 10, huh, partner? Okay. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. And where is it? Machine. Let's this time select the PI Atlas test. Use Atlas. Make sure that it's not export recursive. And this is. And export. And engine crash. No. Okay, cool. Kaboom! Done. Done and done. And it will apply it obviously to this one, and to that one, and to all of the ones that are in the instance, because we changed the actual, you know, like thingy, static mesh. Now, this is looking pretty nice. Another thing that we could do is actually go into the post-process volume, like I said before, and go into translucency. Just forgetting the name. Translucency instead of raster, hit ray tracing, and now that's what I wanted to see. That's what I actually wanted to see. Beautiful, like frosted, kind of greenish looking glass. Oh, that's very nice. Oh my god, I absolutely love this model. Beautiful. There is a minor downside. We don't see the dirt, you know, a bit sad. But we will make a render from a different angle, you know, so that we can see it and appreciate the beauty of the dirt as well. But yeah, like in terms of composition, this is pretty good.
Another thing you want to do is to set up other cameras to capture, you know, some details that you want to have. By the way, you're gonna see some differences here, like there's a simulation running and stuff like that. That's because it's been almost a day. Now it's kind of like a little bit different. There are flickering lights, as you can see. I mean, you can easily set stuff up. I'm not gonna spend time doing this because there are a ton of tutorials, you know, online that you can check out that will explain you how to do stuff like this. But for the sim, this is an actual simulation that I'm running with Niagara. Obviously, this is extremely expensive and is mostly worth it if you're doing you know, renders, like, because if you wanna actually do this into the game, like if you're gonna use the game asset, this is gonna be crazy expensive, so you don't want to run an actual simulation that is running all the time. Most computers will probably blow up. Normally what you want to do is you would run a 2D plane with like a pre-recorded video, like alpha, like on smoke, like coming down, and you would just slap it here, maybe slap one on the other side, so like you make a cross, and that's how you would do it. But and that's also kind of expensive because but it's not too expensive, not as much as a running simulation, which will probably set a few computers on fire. um, but this one is not even too heavy, but still you would never do this in a game. And then flickering lights, but that's pretty much it. Then you can set up other cameras. So how you can set up other cameras, like now these are stuck in place. See, I cannot move them. That's the idea, because otherwise I would accidentally, probably, actually most likely, move them around. So what you can do is that you can just grab one, you right click, and you duplicate it. Actually, no, never mind. You copy paste. Yep, there you go. Copy paste, and you would name this something different. Then you would go into transform. You would remove this lock right here, and then you would do it to Cinecamera Actor 4 as a view, and then you would just move it around, right? Move it to a nice point of interest that that you like. Then just, you know, do the thing. So if you see that stuff is not getting in focus, for example, let me see if I can, yeah, for example, see here is not really getting into focus. The reason is because, if you remember right, we selected the cameras to track something very specific, right? So in this case, it's not tracking the right object, it's tracking the one behind. There it is, BP incubator underscore 3. So what we want here is to track BP incubator, and that should be the first one. Yep, there you go. Now it's tracking it correctly. Now, if you want a specific kind of focus, like let's say I want this to be in focus and this not to be in focus, you can do that. But then you have to remove tracking, and you have to put manual. Then you get the eyedropper and click here, and now that's in focus and that's not in focus. If you want to mess around, you want more depth of field, you can do that. You can just go in here into aperture and put like 1.4. Obviously this is gonna mess up with the exposure, but you will get more depth of field in the back. So that's another thing you need to keep in mind. You have to go into the metering and fix it. Obviously do not go into the post-process volume and fix it there, because then if you adjust it for this camera that has a, you know, like a sharper aperture, like it's gonna mess it up for like all of the others, and the other ones are all gonna be darker, so you don't want that. So you have exactly the same settings as you have in the post-process volume. You can simply look for exposure, and the metering mode, you can set it to manual, exposure compensation, and you increase it, and there you go. Good. Now You can mess up with this a little bit more, actually, if you want. You can put even sharper depth of field. You would, once again, go into the aperture and put maybe 0.5. Actually, whoa. Oh, yeah, good point. You cannot go lower than 1.2. And it's because mostly, like in a real, like you have to think about how a real camera works. And mostly if you want to, let's say, have a really sharp depth of field, what you would do is that you would use a big zoom, like let's say a 200, right? And you would set the aperture 1.2, that's fine, and then you would just eyedropper here. There you go. Now that's a very, that's very blurry in the background, and it's very sharp, like in front. Careful, by the way, because with glass, weird stuff can happen. Like now, this is Raytraced glass, so maybe not. But normally, it can get pretty messy with glass in Unreal. I don't know. Like, I've never tested it with Raytraced. Like, it actually looks okay. But I've had bad experiences before where the Raytraced glass was not... where the glass was not getting into focus at the same time as other stuff. And it was like going from not being in focus to being perfectly in focus, like out of nowhere. And it is very noticeable. Now, I haven't noticed this with Ray Trace glass yet, but I could be wrong. Anyway, this is how you achieved nice focus. How do we set up the renders now? So we have our scene, we have our things, like we set everything the way we want. We have our cameras. In my case, I have 3. And now we have a couple things to do. So I already did them, but I'll redo them so that you know what to do. First things first, you would have to go into plugins and look for cinema. So you have to click on movie render queue and turn on this plugin. Then you'll have to restart the engine. This will allow you to use this, the sequencer, and no, not really the sequencer, but the movie render queue, which is gonna be how we export stuff. So then you would go in here, you add level sequence, give it a name. Like in my case, I think I called it main cam. Yeah, called it main cam as a level sequence. Like you don't necessarily need to call it main cam. You can call it like main scene stills or something like that. We'll use it for stills. And then what you would do is that you would open it up. So double click. Now I'm gonna delete this and I'll show you how I do it from scratch. I'll remove everything. So you'll have nothing in here. It's gonna look like this. So then you track. This is gonna be, by the way, your timeline, and you select which actors to track in your sequence. So if you're doing an animation or whatever else, you can track it here, right? And this will be specific for this sequence, okay? So if you make camera movements, stuff like that, you know, it will happen in this sequence. So if you change sequence, it's not happening in that sequence, but we're gonna select our cine camera actor. Cool. That's exactly what I want. Now this is a lot of frames. Now if you render images, it's gonna render like over 2,000 frames. We don't want that. So what you are gonna do is gonna right click, properties, and you go section start and 1. Now this is gonna be 1 frame only. It's exactly what we want. We want 1 frame, okay? Perfect. Then we can go on and track something else. So we can go on camera actor 2. Very nice. Which at the moment is not showing up. Because normally I do it like this. I mash them all together in here. Maybe I am. Yeah, I have to, I forgot. You go into camera cuts, like go into here, add new binding, and then camera actor 2, and that's gonna bring in, see this angle that I have? So then you would right click this and go from range from 1 to 2. Cool. Then you would add a new binding, camera actor 3. Right click, and this is gonna be from range from 2 to 3. And that's it. So frame 1 is gonna be the, you know, the first camera, then frame 2 is going to be second camera, frame 3 is going to be the third camera. But I'm not satisfied yet because I also want to have my decals showcased, right? So the way you would do that is actually pretty straightforward. See, I'm gonna copy slide setup that I have here. See, okay, cool. By the way, this switches from, as you can see, like this is world alignment for moving stuff. If I click this, is pretty much object aligned. So see, now I can move this in the direction that it's facing, and like that is world aligned. So I move it according to the world. But I'm just gonna alt and just move it like that. Cool. Like why I'm doing this, because I'm gonna showcase here the decals. So what I'm gonna do is create a plane, and I'm just gonna, you know, rotate it 90 degrees. There you go. Maybe move it back a little bit, just like that, so that it's nice in the light. And then I want to create a new material. So I'm gonna go here, create a material, call it mm_showcase. And just gonna grab enough 4 vector, let's parameterize it, call, let's color, one more for the metallic. It's very basic, you know, nothing too complicated. But wait, maybe we already had one that we did. Ah yeah, we have one for the backdrop actually. Never mind, we don't need to do this. Delete. I'm gonna create an instance of the backdrop and call it mi_showcase. So this already has all we need. Don't need to make a new one. So we'll apply the showcase. Did I apply it to this? Yeah, okay, cool. Then we can open it. Okay, it has emission, metallic, and roughness. Perfect. That's all we need. So we're gonna set this to like a not so dark color actually. Like something like white. Like this. Metallic, we might actually leave it on 0, to be fair. But the roughness, we're gonna bump it to 0.5. Right, then the next thing we wanna do, this is pretty simple. Like, this is an absolute hack, but it saves time. So you would alt click, you basically duplicate the plane, and you lay it exactly on top of the other one. Now, as close as you possibly can. And the material, you're gonna select mi_subset. And we have our decals. GG. Now what I would do is actually put it behind, and then just, there you go. Why you want to put it as close as possible so it doesn't cast any shadows, okay? Like that, it's gonna look perfect. Great. So yeah, the light is a little bit dim for this kind of thing, so maybe we can bump up the intensity to 500. Oh, it's behind. Jesus. Alright, let's move it in front. There you go. Now it's lighting it nicely, and we can see really well what's going on. Cool. These are a bit, see, dark with the AO, but I mean, in the end, that's what we are using, so it's fine. Might want to reduce it ever so slightly because it is pretty dark. Let's see. I'm gonna open the subset. Yep. And go into the emission intensity, blah blah blah. The height, we can, by the way, drop it to 0.05. So that's tiling AO intensity. There it is. That's okay. I still, oh, still doing a lot of... Oh no, that's not what I meant. Jesus, it increased it a ton actually. 0.05. Okay, cool. That's actually fine. I'll leave it like this. And then what I want to do, I want to do exactly the same. So I'm gonna alt click and move it. I'm gonna move it right next to it. But this time, instead of the mi subset, I'm gonna go mi underscore info. And we have our info decals. Now, this is a bit different because we might have to change the material underneath, because as you can see, it's some of the decals are gray. They're not gonna show up really well. So what we want to do is actually go into the material that we just made. Instances, mi backdrop, mi showcase. And we are just gonna duplicate this instance and call it showcase info. And first of all, I want to apply it to the plane behind, which is going to be a bit of a pain because it's harder to select now. Well, we can just hide this one and select it. What is it? The third one. Okay. Showcase info. Show the decals again. And then we just bring this out because otherwise we don't know what it looks like. And color. I guess we could make it black or white. Maybe black. Roughness actually at 0 for this one. Or maybe actually no, at 1. Complete rough. Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks fine. And that's how you would end up showcasing your decals if you want to show the trim that you're using. I have to admit, these are really dark. Maybe a bit too dark for my taste. They looked a little bit lighter before, but eventually, you know, when you start messing around with the materials, they end up looking really dark. That's not the end of the world. You could always go back and, you know, like put like some multiply. Well, another way that you can do this is by using a clamp, by the way. So you just put a clamp in the, you know, in the subset. So, you know, if you just want a quick fix, like for example, the blacks are too dark, you know, and you want to bump them up a little bit, you can use a clamp. And this is pretty much gonna be clamping the, you know, the colors. They normally go from 0 to 1, 0 being absolute black, and white being, and 1 being absolute white. So you would run this and it's gonna clamp it. So if you say that the minimum is gonna be 0.3, like the lowest color is not gonna be black. So it's never gonna be absolute 0. It's always gonna be like from that point on. Another thing that you can run is a multiply. You know, if you wanna have even more control, I'm just gonna control move this, okay, and create a new parameter. And I can call this, let's parameterize it and call this overall brightness. I know. Wait, but overall color. Actually, color. Overall brightness. And if I apply this, by the way, I input some base values. So, for example, the clamp minimum 0 and clamp max 1, right? And now, if I go here and open the oh, actually, apologies, I forgot to set this one now. Overall color brightness should be 1, by the way. I should probably put it also in the sort priority, but whatever. I'm gonna leave it a default value of 1. And yeah, now if I go into the subset, and I put in color clamp min, okay, cool. So if I reduce or increase the overall brightness, as you can see, This reduces or increases all of it. By the way, I'm only into the, now I'm in the buffer visualization for color, so I don't see any other map. So this is the overview, sorry. This is the lit where I see all of the maps. But I just went into buffer visualization for color only because I want to see how the color is going to behave once I mess around with these. So see, overall brightness dictates like the brightness overall. It's never going to go above white, obviously. But you know, you see if I increase this, eventually the blacks will become whites as well. And then everything is going to look the same, right? And then it's kind of pointless, all the work we did earlier to input a new map. So you have to be careful with this, and this is why whenever you modify these things, you really want to be in this. But overall brightness, let's leave it to 1. So see, this is like still pretty dark, and this is like almost completely white. But you see, if I reduce the clamp max, it will reduce the whites until eventually everything becomes black, you see? So that's why you want to leave this to like 1. And the clamp minimum, if you don't like it because it's too dark, you can always put it to like 0.3. And well, now everything will be slightly blown up, you know, like it's gonna be brighter. This is up to you, but you have to be careful with this because fuck around with it too much and stuff is gonna start to look weird. My advice would be to clamp the max to maybe like 0.8. And yeah, just increase this slightly, like just like this. You know, maybe it might be a bit too much. So we can actually have an overview. Yeah, it looks pretty good actually. It's not so bad. Yeah, that's not bad. They look quite similar, but that's because of the lighting and whatnot. If you really want, you could light this a little bit better so that you can see from different angles. Like, see, if you look at it from this angle, it actually looks much better. Like, you can see the difference more. That one is darker than the other one. It always depends on from where you're lighting it. But because it's metal, you know, like if you remove the metallic component, it's all gonna look like, there you go. It's all gonna look way clearer. But with the metal, you know, because this is gonna be like a chrome kind of material, you know, it can be a bit deceiving how it looks. Another way would be to, you know, increase or decrease the roughness, right? So this is gonna also contribute to how you see the material. You know, there are quite a few things, but you can tweak this to get the result you want, you know, if to showcase that these are actually way brighter than these. You know, you can easily do that like that. You can, you know, just reduce or increase the metallic, reduce or increase the roughness, however you please. But remember that, you know, you can put in these clamps, which will help you out, you know, in actually, you know, changing things. Again, be careful because when you see, when you increase the clamp minimum, well, you're also increasing the AO. And the way to fix that, obviously, would be to move, you know, these nodes before all this, because then, you know, the AO comes into place here, I am pretty sure. Yep, you see? Like, AO comes in, and if you put these nodes, you know, the clamp and the multiply here, and then you go mess around with the clamp minimum, you see it's not gonna touch the AO, it's only gonna touch the, you see, only the color. So if I go into, again, the buffer visualization for color, you see that the, you know, like this is still black. This is also still very dark because it will still take into the consideration the AO. By the way, you can use this trick also for the AO and a whole lot of other stuff. As in, you can parameterize and tweak everything from here. You know, like it's, you can go crazy with this stuff, really. Like, can go absolutely bonkers, like however you want. You can darken everything, you see, you can brighten everything, whatever. You know, like, literally go crazy with this. Anyway, so we want to set up a new camera for these bad boys as well. So we grab a Cine Camera Actor 3 and we're gonna copy paste. Now we're gonna go to transform and unlock it, and then we just go into it, and we're gonna come here and just zoom in like this. Cool. And I'm just gonna, to be honest, I'm just gonna set the thing manually here. So I'm not gonna track, I'm gonna go manual, and I'm gonna click here. Just because this camera is not moving, nothing is happening, so just want to showcase the decals real quick, and yeah, that looks good. Now you could also, by the way, split the view like that, which is really useful. You can make this one a bit bigger. This one we can use the perspective. If you want to, by the way, check out the lighting and how it would look from a camera, right? So in this case, you know, let's see, maybe I want to bring this in. Oh, that's very light, but you know, we can reduce it a little bit. Maybe I want to rotate it. Oh, I accidentally moved the camera. See, this is why you want to lock the camera. Like, go in here, transform, and lock actor movement, because I accidentally went forward with it. I'm just remembering one thing. Once I told you that you would want to flip the green channel of the normal. It seems like it's actually working fine here. It's not giving me any trouble. But sometimes you might have to do that. Well, there is a simple test you can do to check if the green channel is screwed up. You put a point light, you bring it up, and you see the way that is lighting the decals. So if it lights the decals from the bottom, even though it's on top, something is wrong. But it actually, yeah, you see, that's fucked. Yeah, that's absolutely wrong. Look, you see that the thingy, the light is on top, yeah? So technically this should be lit here. It's behaving as if the light is coming from the bottom, right? So that's wrong. That's completely wrong. It should be the other way. So now if I shove this at the bottom, look at this. Now it should be lit here, because the light is coming from the bottom, should be hitting this edge, but it's hitting this edge. So that's completely wrong. So what we want to do to fix that, because I told you this was gonna happen, I forgot myself. You want to go into atlases, decal atlas, you would open the normal map, and then you would go into, what was it, flip green channel, and there you go. See, now it flipped the green. Now let's have a look at the green. So when you flip it, yep, when you flip it, see that stuff is lighting up on the other side. I mean, like, as in swapping the green to the other side. So you want to have it flipped. So if now we save it and go back, look at this. Now it's lighting up correctly. See, it's lighting that edge. And if we bring it up, now it's gonna be lighting the bottom edge. See, that's correct. See, now it's lighting up the bottom edge. It's not lighting up this edge anymore. So now that is correct. Also, this one you see is lighting up the top. See, and not the bottom. And now if I bring it down here, it would be lighting up from the bottom and not from the top. So that's how you fix this very common issue. I will now just bring these back and go back to the camera. It's actually fine. Maybe I'm just gonna bring some light in there. Okay. Maybe we'll put it to 5. Yeah, so that it gives a little bit of an edge of light here, you know. Still think that this is a bit too strong. Wait. See where the hell that's pointing at. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is a bit too strong. We'll reduce it. That's better. And what about you, mister? Now this is giving a nice side edge. Maybe we can modify it a bit, make it a bit bluer. That's cool. Let's take a look again. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. Like, so now we have showcased our beautiful decals. I mean, it's not something like too crazy. I mean, it's literally 2 panel sheets and the rest is just, you know, like just a bunch of decals and that's all. So now we want to add this camera as well to the render. Now, if you want to be very precise, you know, like with stuff, as you should be, you would give this camera a name, you know, the other camera name and blah, blah, blah. By the way, if you want to see your cameras more easily, just a word of warning. Sometimes I had trouble seeing the cameras because the scene was dark and for example, that one is barely visible. So what you can actually do is that you can go in, you can open because the camera has a mesh, like you see this, which is hidden in game and on renders, but you can still open it. So you can open the mesh, and for the camera body, you can put on something emissive so that you can actually see it, okay? Hell, even this wireframe is gonna help, you know? Or not. Never mind. Made it worse. Thought that was emissive. What? It looks emissive. Never mind. Just write emission. And there you go. This is like whatever. It's a blue emission, like a 00127. So that's a blue. And yeah, it's very not too much in your face. Like you can see the cameras now. Like they really stand out. So that's one way that you can actually figure out where cameras are without going insane. Yeah, that's it. Then you go back up here. By the way, if you notice, I made a mess up. Like I was here, like in this frame, and I added the new binding for the camera 4. Don't do that because then this one disappears. I mean, it gets overridden. So you have to go into the new frame and then create a new camera binding. Now that's correct. So then that's from 3 to 4. And that is it. So now we have our 4 frames, right? With the camera set up correctly. And we're gonna go render this. So what I wanna do is hit this, render movie to a video. And it's gonna open this pop-up. So what we're gonna do, I already have my setup saved. You can literally just copy what I've done. But what I've done is basic. It's a basic PNG sequence. You can fix it up from here. You can select what you want. So I undo the JPEG and just do the PNG. Deferred rendering. Render main pass. Leave it on. It says additional post-process materials, but these I think are by default. Anti-aliasing, yeah, this is fine. Like you want some anti-aliasing. Now there would be a whole ass discussion to talk about what this stuff does, but basically this is the sample count for the anti-aliasing. Now by default is really low, and you could have some ugly artifacts especially if you light things up with emissive materials on surfaces. That's why I always tell you use actual lights, because actual lights work way better, okay? And you should always use them to light things up. But what I do is that I have it at sample count 2 and temporal sample count 250. Temporal sample count, it can be used also for videos, but I'm not gonna like go on and explain what it is. You can find a ton of tutorials, but it's super useful for videos for denoising. You can just leave it at 2 and 250. Then you go into console variables and you can actually I'll put these into the description. You can just copy paste them. Lumen max bounces, this is a lot. You can just put it on 25. Still a lot, to be honest, but it's okay because we're doing still renders. So this denoiser is another denoiser of global illumination, and this is ambient occlusion. Then this is for the reflections, and yeah, this is for the shadows, denoiser for the shadows, and this is sets the lumen reflection max bounces, which is a 25. So it's what you want for stills. Then output scale resolution, it's a 4K, okay? And you have to select where you want this to output. In my case, I'm just gonna, you know, like make a folder and just put it in there. I made a folder called stills and I selected it in downloads. And that's pretty much it. You can accept, and now you can just hit render local. And it's gonna render them. You see, there are total frames are 4, and they're gonna be, each camera is a separate frame. So that's frame 1. Yep, now it switched to the second frame, as you can see is... Oh, actually the second frame was blank. I switched to the third one. We'll have to investigate what happened there. But... No, actually no, it wasn't, because it didn't render it yet. But anyway, so it's rendering another one, and you see it's the next frame. We'll see later if... I mean, I just did some camera setup, like just to showcase a few details, but I didn't go crazy with it. I can open the first one, and let's see what it looks like. Great! Looks fantastic, look at this. Perfect. It's nice and sharp. Right? No weird artifacts, no weird light artifacts. We can nicely see the normal map that we applied. Everything looks great. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now we'll just wait for the other ones to be ready. And yeah. And then we are pretty much done. Alright, and we are done, and we have our 4 frames. So actually it didn't skip anything. It was just me being paranoid as always when I'm rendering stuff. And this is the first one, obviously, which is beautiful. Second one. Third one. This is a bit out of focus, to be honest. It's focusing here. I would have rather it would focus here, to be honest. So I might redo this one. And then this is the decals. Ooh, very nice. Very nice. So yeah, this one is a bit meh. Can fix that, to be honest. But the other ones are cool. I like them. So the moment you want to remove the decals to, you know, like maybe do a comparison shot in between the asset with the decals and without the decals, you can do this 2 ways. If you want to do a re-render, like of the, you know, of all of the same ones. So let's say I have, you know, these 3 assets right here that have a couple camera cuts, you know, and I just want to redo the renders. I've done this already. And they pretty much look like this. See, this is a re-render without the decals. And is exactly the same as pretty much this one. Only, you know, obviously without everything. You can easily do this by opening the static mesh. And instead of these, so in my subset and info decals, you can simply just not revert it to world grid material, because if you do like the basic one that was on it was the world grid, you can look for transparent. And if you remember, transparent, my god, transparent. And if you remember, when we made this material, it will just ignore everything else. Like whatever, like it's gonna underneath, it's just gonna show up as if that material doesn't exist. And this is what we get. So you get the transparent material, and when you go into the camera setup, you just exactly do the same thing as you did before. You just re-render everything, and this is what you're gonna get. Although, if you want to have a like side-by-side comparison, which is what I, for example, used for the thumbnails. Now let's revert back to having our beautiful decals showing like that. If you want to have a comparison render, now if you remember, I can instance a new blueprint right next to it like this. And I can just literally click on this, click on the incubator. Actually, this one. And oh, actually no, I duplicated the static mesh. I did not mean to do that. I want to duplicate the blueprint. There you go. And now I can go into the incubator of this blueprint, you know, because remember, like, this is multiple assets because it's a blueprint. And instead of these, I can just look for mm_transparent. And as you can see, now the decals are gone, but only for this instance. So now if I go to, you know, set up a new camera of a side by side and render, this is gonna clearly show that this one has the trim sheets on, and this one does not. And this is how you do it. And that concludes our little journey for this asset. I am extremely proud of you if you've managed to reach the end without going absolutely bonkers. If you're new to modeling and, you know, all this kind of stuff, I'm sure this has been quite helpful. At least I hope so. I hope it was easy to follow. I would love to have some feedback, so let me know. I know that sometimes my mic was so and so, and then there was my enemy, the leaf blower, as you've seen. But I really enjoyed making this tutorial series. It was great fun for me, and I hope it was great fun for you as well. If you've managed to follow all of it, and I hope it was understandable. But I tried my best. It's the first time I do a full-on course, but it was a great adventure for me. And I have learned a lot, and I hope you have learned a lot as well. This is why I encourage you also to come to our Discord and showcase your work. I would love to see it. I'm pretty sure like everybody else would love to see it too. This is the beautiful thing of the community, is that we tend to give each other feedback, you know, and some constructive criticism, which is always welcome. Even for me, if there are some things you know better than me, like lighting or, for example, bloody vegetation, because I kind of suck at it. You can come in and, you know, like, give me some tips. I would love, you know, to have some tips on like some things that I am not so great on. But yeah, in terms of like this PoM workflow, I hope that you enjoyed these tutorials, and now you know something else. And be sure to stay tuned, because soon I'm gonna be also coming up with a couple bonus chapters, one or two, we'll see, to show you what else you can actually achieve with the beautiful trim sheets that we made.